Hello and welcome back to Leinster Listen. I'm your host Mick Conan and this is episode 45, the review of Leinster versus Toulon in the semi-final of the Investec Champions Cup. This episode's content today will be the Investec Champions Cup semi-final results, the overall opinion of our game, the analysis of the game events, and then a look into the final in May 23rd against Bordeaux Begles. Alright, so I gave a little bit of a spoiler there, obviously, given that we know who we are actually going to face in the final in Bilbao. But we'll go through those results anyway again. So the two semi-finals obviously was Leinster versus Toulon, and we beat Toulon 29-25. Then Bordeaux actually beat Bath in a huge game over in Bordeaux, 38-26. I must say the scoreline there for Bath is a little bit graced by a consolation try at the very end. But Bordeaux just looked in control for an awful lot of that game. And yeah, obviously came out trumps. So yeah, there you have it. We actually have our final set in stone. So it's Leinster versus Bordeaux Begles in the San Mamés Stadium in Bilbao. I probably butchered that name actually, but anyway. And that will be Saturday 23rd of May with a kickoff of 2:45pm Irish time. So yeah, I suppose look, going into the Toulon game there. Yeah, I actually didn't have a prediction for that. Obviously, as you know, I didn't have a preview episode, mainly because Leinster held a team sheet very close to their chest, and it was just over 24 hours from the game that they released it. So by the time I actually got around to try and make a preview episode, it would have been too late for you to listen to it. So, but yeah, look, I'm going to say it now. I definitely would have predicted 29-25. So, you know, it's a pity I couldn't get that episode out because it would have been the one time that I should have been a betting man. No, honestly. I did think we would win. I did think it would be close. I didn't think it'd be that close. But yeah, sure, look, let's go over it. Yeah, overall opinion there, we found a way. Life finds a way, Leinster finds a way. It wasn't a pretty win. But as I said, I actually don't want pretty wins anymore. I want the edge of your seat stuff. I want, really working for it, really showing that we have the grit, determination, the strive, the matter most moments there in those games. And actually, if you look at it, we actually led from the 13th minute all the way to the final whistle. So realistically, it wasn't one of those games where we were on the back foot or we were behind in points and such. So we kind of we held the game to our own. And then obviously the last 10 minutes was just needlessly stressful for us, which is, the usual lately. But look, I think our defence held up in the most part. Obviously we had a good few gaps there. We'll talk about them in a little bit. But overall, I thought that game was a very good display, of a team that has worked well together, a team that has been so dynamic, with all the injuries, people stepping up, people coming through from the AIL, coming through from the academy. It really just stood to that game, and I'm just so happy watching it. Obviously stressed a little bit, but I knew we had it in us, and we really dug in when it mattered. So I think that stronger mentality really shows. I think if you looked and reflect back to last season when we were in that semi-final and we lost Northampton, I don't think we had it. I don't think we had that drive. I don't think we had the determination really to want it as much as we did this year. And you could really see it in all the players. The individual performances out there were just fantastic on the most part. And yeah, look, the big highlight there, obviously, the opening in the second half. We were 13 men on the pitch versus 15. Well, actually, I'd argue 16, but we'll get into that a little bit later as well. And look, we didn't sit back. We came out of the traps there absolutely hell for leather. And, straight from the kickoff, we absolutely dominated that possession. It went straight up, got them by the neck, turned over the ball, and we were inside their 22. We pretty much camped in their 22 for almost 5 minutes. And we also forced a yellow on their side as well. So we turned the table completely from coming out and thinking that it was going to be disaster, alarm bells ringing. No, we came out. Obviously, Conan told them exactly what to do, was go out and just put your body on the line there, lads. But we got them down to 13 versus 14. And then we converted it. We converted that yellow card, the 13 versus 14 immediately with a try from Ringrose. So that complete sequence of the game was just immense. It was the pinnacle, the epitome of that game, as you would say, as I've gotten that word wrong a few times. But it was everything that Leinster has been, proven themselves. That moment was just the whole season encapsulated. So I just thought that was a huge highlight of that game, and I just thought we have to reflect on that and look at that to say any other team would have folded like a camping chair. It was just brilliant. 13 versus 15, didn't give them an inch. That's what you want to do. So look, let's go into the actual aspects of the game there. Going into the scrums here, absolutely excellent, lads. Absolutely, you couldn't be happier with those. I actually think now. We'll get into the Luke Pearce bashing a little bit later. And I don't normally do that refereeing, but I do think we should have gotten an awful lot more scrum penalties put against Toulon, and even the scrums that we done absolutely amazing on. Luke Pearce was asking us to use the ball, and I hate when they do that. I think it really shows that a referee can't actually referee the scrums when he's just telling teams to use it, when realistically he should have been giving us a couple of scrum penalties to say no, actually the other team, Toulon were turning, their claps in the front, they were pinching up. But anyway, look, let's go into it. Porter there, fantastic, so good to have him back for that. Clarkson as well, huge. Porter obviously earned the man of the match there as well, and rightly so. He absolutely dominated those scrums. Like, it was just ridiculous. He made a holy show of the front pack there for Toulon. So, we won 5 penalties off the front row as well. We should have earned at least 3 more. Honestly, I do think we should have, but we just dominated that, and fantastic. There's very few episodes I've done a review on where scrums have been the masterpiece of the game, and I think that game exactly that was it. That was the one. I'll reflect back on that in future episodes. Think, was it as good as a Toulon game? So anyway, fantastic. Moving over there to lineouts, yeah, bit mixed. The lineout maul set up. A Van der Flier try obviously worked very well there. A lovely tap penalty off the back, and that was fantastic. But we did have some execution errors mid game there as well. It got a little bit scrappy, and then they actually stole 2 of them if I'm correct there. So yeah, something to reflect on. Obviously missing Baird there as well. He's injured again. It's not ideal for us. So probably have to go back to the drawing board a bit there as well. And yeah, look, I think we can work on that. Obviously, we'll have to work on that coming into the final, but I think we will work on that. It's something that we have done pretty good in a lot of other games, especially in the URC. So I think we can bring that up to speed. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. Now, defence. Defence was grand, I thought. It held firm for a lot of long spells of the game. Obviously, we conceded 3 tries there, but the 2 Akuvu on in the first half, went down to 13. Yeah, not great. Saran there absolutely made mince of us. That scrummy there, he's so good, and Drian as well. It should have been done. That they should have won that, actually, in fairness. And I have to put it to Raiko Owane. Look, say what you want about him. I actually think he played a blinder. He did 2 fantastic try saving tackles twice. So look, he has made every penny that we've spent on him so far on those 2 tackles, because we are now in a final because of him. So fantastic. The one thing I will say about defence here is that Prendergast should not be left alone in any position of that pitch. If you saw the attempt he did to stop that Drian try, Jesus Christ, I think it was probably the most cringe thing I've ever seen. Like, literally patting him on the chest to stop him going through for the try. And I just think that's it. I think that really has finished him in terms of defensive lines. They put him on the wing for whatever reason. I think they should have made it, if they had to do anything, make him inside centre or change up the flow there so that there's a floating player near enough that position to help him, because it just didn't work. And in fairness, that try was all him, and it really put us on the back foot again, really put the pressure back on us because of that. So yeah, look, not great. But as I said, Iwane's fucking 77th minute, arguably the best defensive play of the match. Oh my god, the work rate he had to do, because he already had made a tackle, and they were gone, and he got himself up and he sprinted back, and he made a fantastic tackle, which caused a knock on there in the 77th minute, and really it won the game for us. That was match set at that point. So yeah, look, defense is a bit inconsistent there. I think Prendergast I don't know what he needs to do. He's improved his kicking game, he's improved his passing game. He's obviously very good at the strategy of the game. He got the man of the match there not too long ago as well. But I think his defensive play is just not there. It's just not there, and it's really it's making Leinster suffer. It's making Leinster suffer way too much. So hopefully he goes through the next season here and improves himself, because I don't know if he doesn't improve his tackling there, he's going to get he's going to get dropped. He's going to get dropped more than he is currently, and that, like, obviously Harry Byrne didn't have the most fantastic game in terms of kicking, but like he did his job, and he also has to probably work on his tackling. But that is one of Sam's main pain points at the moment. So it was his kicking. Now he's probably gotten that in order a little bit, and now his tackling is just the focus point. And you would have seen it in the Six Nations again. That tackle on Bielle-Biarrey where he missed that tackle, but that one there was just, oh god, it was hard to watch, because I was thinking I could have done better, and I'm an absolutely useless rugby player. And when you're looking at it like that, saying, Jesus, if I had even touched your man's fucking ankles, I probably would have done a better job. He just tapped his chest and then kind of shuffled sideways to try and slow him down or something. But anyway, look, I won't spend too long debating the poor attempt of a tackle that Sam did, but it was kind of the crushing side of the defensive aspect, is that he is also part of your defence. So you have to talk about him in terms of defence, and then he unfortunately caused it to be inconsistent. And look, there was other players as well who were falling off tackles. One of the tries there, it was a dummy, and Slimani just didn't respond to it, and he followed the ball rather than the player, and he ended up allowing a try in beside Raiko Ane. But yeah, look, in terms of defence, a little bit inconsistent. Obviously, we did well enough to win the game, but we need to work on that. We need to teach people how to tackle again, teach people to follow the person rather than the ball, those kind of things. And I think it's alright to do that against Toulon. I don't think you can do that against Bordeaux. I think they'll absolutely make mincemeat of you. Bielle-Biarrey himself will make mincemeat of you, so will Lucu. So we can't be doing that. Moving over there to the attack. The attack was very good. In patches, obviously, but it really showed a proper quality when we were on the attack in front, and when we were actually doing some really intentional set plays there. A lot of looping passes, a lot of phasing through, looping back around players as well. The Sexton curl, as you would call it as well, was making its appearance again. And it was I think when James Park was on the ball, that high tempo short pass and multi-phase system just came in again for us, and that I think that works at our best, and it worked best in the first 65 minutes. I think we just did a fantastic job there. Now obviously we did leave tries on the board. One of them was Gibson Parks ruled out, one for, I think they said it was a knock on eventually, but they were looking at Raiko Wane's touch on the sideline as well. But look, yeah, I think we probably could have left points on the board, on the pitch. Sorry, we left points on the pitch. Obviously, we opted for a penalty very early on there, and unfortunately, Harry Byrne just did not get that, which was not great. And I remember seeing it where it was, and I was just thinking to myself, it's way too far out. I just didn't think he had the legs for it, and unfortunately, he didn't. So, look, not great. But the one thing we did do well, and I must say, if we do have the option in the final to do it, is those tap and go approaches. They have paid off time and time again. That little, Dan Sheehan goes up. He's going to do it. Dan Sheehan goes up. He does his little dummy. He runs back into a pod structure. Jemison goes Park, touches it, passes to him. There's no stopping him. There's three huge men coming at you. It's very hard to stop that. And if you do stop them, then Van der Flier Ringrose is on the outside waiting for that to go through the next set of players. So that has paid off time and time again. I love that set play. It works so well for us. Keep that going. And I think Ireland have adopted that as well. So it must be stemming down or stemming up, maybe. I don't know. But it works well. So loved it. Yeah, I suppose that probably covers a lot of the game there. In terms of notable players, and obviously I'm just going to go through Leinster players here. We don't have time for Toulon. They're gone. Porter, first off, an absolute thunderous loose head. Fantastic. He absolutely dominated Gross there. He dominated Sinclair as well, in fairness, in the scrum. He won multiple penalties. He went off on the 76th minute or something. So, huge game for him. Well-deserved player of the match as well. And, fantastic. He's really just been back in since the Sale quarter-final as well. So, it's good to see. It's good to see him. He's doing well, and he's really sticking at all the haters who were all pinging about his scrummaging. And obviously he's just thrown the book at it. So he's doing a fantastic job there. Caelan Doris, yeah, I had a tiff with someone online there. They were trying to say that his captaincy was terrible in that game, and I thought that was complete bullshit. Fantastic performance in terms of captaincy there. But not only that, he did 16 tackles, 22 carries, 55 metres med, and 5 defenders beaten. So, just himself as an individual performance, absolutely savage. He obviously scored the crucial 67th minute try as well, put us 29-11 up. So, he's just, his work rate is so good. He won a turnover there very late on to relieve pressure on us as well. So he's some man, and could be end up one of the players at the tournament as well. So really good to see him performing well, and especially in the captaincy role. I think he just suits him. He has such an air of respect. Even talk to Luke Pearce, who didn't deserve much respect in that game, but he could see, and he was asking the right questions. And even Luke Pearce had to say at one point, "Yeah, that's a very valid question. I'll think about it," kind of thing. So yeah, hats off to Caelan Doris there. Josh van der Flier as well. Yeah, obviously look, a try scorer for us. Unfortunately went off for HIA, but when he had that, when he was playing, he had such powerful finishes and such powerful carries. So he definitely deserves a notable mention there as well. And last but not least, Gary Ringrose. Yeah, I think when was the last time I was talking about it? It was just after the Glasgow game, and I was thinking he has just been so anonymous in that team for a long time, and I think maybe it was like a bit of fatigue from the Lions or whatever it was, maybe the Six Nations. I just thought he was so anonymous on the pitch, but he really shone there in that game against Toulon. Obviously scored the third try, that bouncing pass off of Van der Flier, made perfect play of that one, beat 2 defenders there near the post as well. And then he actually he tried to have that conversion himself, obviously, because Harry Byrne had been sin binned, and unfortunately, in fairness to him, he did a fair good attempt, but the poor lad in the interview later said that he didn't realise the clock was so short, and he hasn't attempted the kick now in ages. But he looked up and saw there was only 10 seconds left. He just had to kick it. Obviously went skyways. But look, fair play to him for trying, and it was a fantastic try in itself. So yeah, fantastic set of players there. Now, the big thing, and look, you know me, if you've been listening to this podcast for a while, I don't like bashing referees. I don't like going and saying, oh, the decision, the performance, the result, blah, blah, it was all dependent on the referee and he did a bad job. I don't do that. I hate doing that. I think it's just poor journalism. I think it's poor podcasting. But I am going to break that rule today, because I just think Luke Pearce was so deeply inconsistent. I just, straight off, first off anyway, right, I'm not saying he's a bad referee. I'm just saying he had a bad day. And I think for a semi-final of a European Champions Cup, I think you need to have better days. Straight off the mark, we had one of the tries there where Jemskins Park obviously went right beside the post. He actually bounced off the post. Sinclair went in with a no arms tackle and absolutely ploughed through Jemskins Park. They didn't look at that. They went all the way back to Raiko Wane's foot potentially being out on the sideline. Fair enough, if that was the case, the passage of play after should have been reviewed. Grand, 100%. That doesn't mean that you can go and do whatever the fuck you want after that has happened and not get looked at. He should have been yellow carded for that. It was a very dangerous tackle. He didn't try to attempt to wrap, and he just ploughed in with his shoulder. Not good. Anyway, that was the first thing. The TMO should have caught that anyway. But the one thing that really threw me, right, was when Porter got binned for a high tackle. Now, I'm not saying it wasn't a high tackle. Fair enough. There was head collision there. Really wasn't, it wasn't a high degree of danger. He said it was high degree of danger. It was more just like a love tap across the face or anything, right? Grand. Whatever you want to call it. You got a yellow card for that. Grand. Okay, 100%. I'm not denying that. But when Olivon went and done the exact same thing to Wane, nothing. Zero. He actually said that actually it's just straight across the chest, so it's grand. However, Iwane's mouth guard started flashing red. If you look at the pictures and the slow-mo, his nose is crushed in against Olivon's face and his shoulder. And Iwane had to go off because he had to go off for HIA. So you're telling me that he can go and not get the TMO to review it, not have any look at it briefly on the big screen and say, no, That's not the same thing. That is ridiculous. That is such lazy refereeing. I don't understand it. You'd nearly think that he was being biased or something. I just don't see it. It's something crazy. Another thing that happened there as well, just to add to it, Tommy O'Brien, right? Tommy O'Brien had the ball. He kicks it downfield. Obviously a very deep Grober kick, but he's wanting to chase after it, and he gets absolutely annihilated with an off the ball shoulder, right? Like, so much so that it lands him 1.5 meters away from where he was on the ground, right? And I was like, okay, fair enough. Wherever it lands the ball, we're going to get a penalty. Maybe not a yellow card, but get a penalty where it lands, because you've obviously obstructed with the player. Nothing. Right? Nothing there. I was like, okay, fair enough. TMO's going to call it back. No, nothing. It actually got to the point where Doris went up to him and I was like, sorry, sir, did you see that off the ball shoulder to Tommy Ryan after he kicked the ball? A good 2 seconds later, on his chase, he got shouldered. And Luke Pearce had the audacity to say, that was a shoulder-on-shoulder tackle, so it's actually fair. Now, oh my God, I had to apologise at the time to my wife and my newborn son, because I was losing the lid watching this on the telly. I just couldn't believe what he is after saying. I don't know, I've looked it up, I don't know where he found this on the rule book, I don't know where he sourced this as a new rule, that you can just shoulder someone off the ball at any point in time, as long as it's on their shoulder, you're grand. Anyway, nothing from that. So I think that was crazy. Then you right, so we've already identified two massive things. And then he goes, right, and he gives Harry Byrne, obviously before this, right, his yellow card because Toulon had an advantage. And because Byrne was offside, he just decided, well, you're also getting a yellow card. Now, mind you, right, whatever you want to say, you don't just do that. You don't just say, right, well, I'm deciding a team yellow is on that person there. He didn't give us a warning at that point. So, look, I think he was just really inconsistent. We should have got more scrum penalties. There's obviously those 3 instances there. And also, Albornoz there, who's the coach of Toulon, was incandescent against him at the end of at the final whistle as well. So it wasn't just Leinster who were being annoyed at Luke Pearce. It was both sides, and that's indicative of a very poor refereed game. And I think he'll look back at, well, hopefully he'll look back on that and have a bit of second-hand embarrassment of how he refereed that game, because honestly I just don't see how you could justify half of the calls that were in that. But anyway, we won. We'll move on. I don't want to spend the rest of this episode giving out with the referee, but look, it wasn't a good performance. I think we worked with what we had. At one point it was 13 versus 16 men, so I'll leave it at that. But in a line, Leinster are in the Champions Cup final once again, and actually for the 9th time, which actually breaks the records of all other teams that have been in it. So let's get that fucking 5th star, lads. Alright folks, let's go into the match events here. 13-minute try for Leinster, Jack Conan. Excellent multi-phase attack off line out. Gibson Park kept the pace up and fed Conan a massive pass there, who powered through 3 tacklers and kind of pushed the ball down with his inside of his arm there. Fantastic first score, and that was converted successfully by Harry Byrne. Brought score initially Leinster 7, Toulon 0. 17 minute then, penalty for Toulon. Melvin Jaminet there. Ringrose penalised on the Toulon 10 metre line, and he actually just slotted it over perfectly. Very good penalty by him. Brought score to 7-3. 24th minute then, penalty to Toulon again. That one, Doris was actually pinged for an illegal poach. Fair enough, it was actually a fairly good decision by Luke Pearce, one of the few. Jaminet slotted over from about 50 metres out. Fantastic score there. Brought score to 7-6. 32nd minute then, try for Leinster, Josh van der Flier. Tuasuvu failed to call a mark there, and Leinster won a line-out maul penalty on Toulon's 5 metre line. Sheehan tapped it, Doris pivoted and offloaded to van der Flier, kind of bounced off the ground, but he caught it perfectly and just ploughed through Olivon's tackle and another defender as well to get us that perfect little try there. That was successfully converted by Harry Byrne. Brought score 14-6. 35th minute then, we got a yellow card, and it was Andrew Porter. Obviously, it was a head-and-head collision. Fair enough. Good decision by Luke Pearce there as well. It was a high tackle on Mikhail Shishavili. 36th minute then, obviously Toulon capitalised on that. To Suvu, we were down to 14 men. Toulon kicked to the corner, used their maul absolutely perfectly, and then Ben White's switch position out to Suvu over on the wing. Perfect little try there. There was no stopping him. That was successfully converted by Jaminet. Or sorry, that wasn't successfully converted by Jaminet. He missed that one, thankfully. Brought the score 14-11. Was only starting to begin there for us. If you looked back, if you were watching it at that point, 36-minute yellow card there for Harry Byrne. Obviously the offside there while they're on advantage. And we were down to 13 men going into halftime. Halftime score there was 14-11. Now, we actually survived 3 minutes of Andrew Porter didn't have too long actually to wait to come back onto that, but for 3 minutes we survived and we dominated. And in the 43rd minute we actually forced a yellow card for Toulon in Teddy Bobigny, a high tackle there, and Josh van der Flier early in that second half as well, which we very much forced because they were panicking. And we capitalised very, very quickly after that. We had a 44th minute try there by Leinster. Gary Ringrose absolutely exploited the numerical advantage there. Actually, a numerical disadvantage, but somehow an advantage for us. O'Brien won the line out. Hard carries followed after that, and Van der Flier's pass bounced for Ringrose, who beat two defenders there near the posts. That was missed by Ringrose, because Byrne was still in the bin. Brought score 19-11. 49th minute then, penalty for Leinster, Harry Byrne. Brought score to 22-11. It was actually a scrum penalty, and Byrne was back for the bin and made no mistake off the tee there. Obviously had a bit of rest, so he was well able. 67th minute then, try for Leinster. Yeah, Caelan Doris here. We spent almost 5 minutes in Toulon's 22 there. Porter carried alongside Gibson Park, passed out to Doris near the line, and then he just shrugged off Mercer to score that. That was successfully converted by Byrne. Brought score 29-11. And this is kind of when I went a bit downhill. We should have won it. We should have won it easily at that point. But in the 70th minute, not too long later, literally 3 minutes after that, a try for Toulon, Baptiste Saran, the replacement scrummy there. He did a fantastic dummy right in front of Slimani and Raiko Wane, and they just caught us off guard, and he just slipped underneath the two of them. And that was successfully converted by Jaminet. Brought to score 29-18. 76th minute then, another try for Toulon, really putting the screws into us. That was Gayal's Rayon, and this is the one I was talking about where Prendergast just had an absolute flop when it came to defensive. An absolute terrible defensive effort as it went out to Rayon on the wing, and he just cut inside. Prendergast made mincemeat of him and pretty much gifted him a try there. That was successfully converted by Jaminet. Brought a score 29-25. But thankfully, in the 77th minute, a very key moment there, Raiko Wane, a brilliant last-ditch tackle on Drian to force a knock-on and a potential match saver with us there. So fantastic. Brought score at the very end. Leinster 29, Toulon 25. Man of match there was Andrew Porter, and in fairness, he deserved every bit of it. Absolutely dominant all day at loose head. 5 scrum penalties won, and he was relentless in the carry as well. So fantastic for him. EPCR player of the match, and he got a lovely little medal with a picture of a zebra on it. So fair play to Andrew. Alright folks, let's just talk about that final that is going to come up on the 23rd of May at 2:45 p.m. Irish time. And look, let's just kind of talk about who Bordeaux Begles are first off. They are reigning champions. They beat Northampton last year, if you remember. Fantastic game. They took the piss out of Pollock. They were all shouting his name, and there was a couple of celebrations where the French team were holding their fingers to their neck to mock him a bit. Look, they're attacking superstars. Obviously, they've huge names there. Jalibert, you have Lucu, Bielle-Biarrey, fantastic players. Obviously, Bielle-Biarrey, arguably probably the best winger in Europe right now. Obviously we can't let him have the ball. On top of that, we can't have Lucu have the ball, and obviously those two players are going to have the ball a lot. Lucu he actually was the man of the match against Bath there today as well. So, a fantastic team they're going to be coming up against. And what they love to do is they love to kick for transition every time they get the ball, and it's a little bit wavy in theirs. They're not really making ground. They will just kick it. They will do this kind of unstructured attack that just really puts us under pressure. And as well as that, on the flip side, they do the swarm defense, and they do that very, very, very well. So we have a game on our hands, and obviously going into this, we are the underdogs. So what do? What do Leinster need to do to win that fifth star? Well, first and foremost, we need to win the scrum. And I think coming off of that game in Toulon, I think we have a very, very, very good chance of that. Bath actually got on top of them at scrum time with Dutois. Fantastic, actually. But I think Porter and Clarkson yesterday, definitely showed we can dominate them. So I think if we can get the scrum as a weapon, I think we're going to do, just use it. Obviously, building that. Mauls as well, huge. If we can get those two aspects of that game down to a T and win some penalties there, I think we have a good chance of beating these guys. Another thing here is I just don't like Jalibert play at all. We don't want him. He wins games just by being on the ball. He just his rhythm and his space is just fantastic. He keeps the game structured, a very physical player, and we don't want him to showcase any of that. We need to slow the break down. We need to disrupt his tempo. We need to really put him back in his little box and keep him there. Speaking of putting people in their boxes, if we could only nullify Bielle-Biarrey and put him in a box, that would be fantastic. And I think one thing we don't need to do is kick to him. So I think kicking tennis is out of the game plan. Don't do it. They love that. They love running. Bielle-Biarrey can run all day. He's a fantastic player. He's a very fast player. And he's so dynamic on the wing. So I think we just avoid sending the ball his way at all, because he will just score tries all day. So let's make him a passenger. Let's not make him a weapon. Let's leave him out there and just make him unknown, which obviously is going to be a very hard thing to do. And yeah, I think not least, but like one of the things that we just need to narrow down, and we would have seen a very poor display of against Glasgow, was discipline. Discipline is going to be non-negotiable. I don't want to see James Ryan going in 5 minutes in and ploughing through a lad, clearing out a ruck or something and getting a yellow card or a red card. So I think we just need to tone it down. Obviously not have Luke Pearce referee the game, but I just need to tone it down, be very, very consistent in our plays. Just don't don't blow the head. Don't do a Michael Alalatoa in the semi-final against Munster and plough through lad no arms tackle kind of situation. We can't afford to do that. We can't afford to be 13 men against Bordeaux. They will annihilate us. That is, you maybe could do it against Toulon. You cannot do it against Bordeaux. We also need to keep the injured players coming back as well. Obviously, Furlong come back with a fitness would be huge. Henshaw, I don't know. I think Henshaw was still in the stadium and it was going around. He obviously looked like he was holding a bit of an injury, but he was celebrating with the men there. He had a jumper on, so hopefully he's back. Chances are he probably won't be, but it'd be fantastic to have him on the bench. But yeah, just getting those back. Obviously, I'd love to see Baird come back. I think he's gotten the same injury he had, but just not as severe. So chances are he probably won't be back either. But I think we need them back. We need options, and we can't get to the point where we have to put Leo Cullen and a pair of Togs down that bench. We're getting there. We're getting there, but that would be nice if we could avoid that. But look, bottom line there, Bordeaux are the better team on paper right now. We won't let that get ahead of us. We don't mind being the underdogs. We don't mind having a bit of grit, a bit of determination, a bit of a bit of comeuppance there. I think we can do that. I think when we're at our best, we're structured, we're disciplined, and we're physical at the set piece. I think we can beat anyone. I think we can go out there and beat absolutely anyone on the day. So look, we've beaten them before. We've beaten them when it matters, and I think 3 weeks to get ahead of it. I think 3 weeks to get the bodies back in line. 3 weeks to get the game plan set. 3 weeks to watch every single game they've ever played and identify what not to do. I just think we have it, lads. I think the dream is on. The dream of that fifth star is on. I just oh god, am I jinxing it? Nah. Alright folks, obviously the next game in the Investec Champions Cup is that final, which is obviously, as I said, May 23rd at 2:45pm Irish time. But obviously the URC will be in between then. And, it's going to be a bit strange going back to that, because we go from such high-profile games back to URC, which obviously, no, it's not high-profile, or it's not high-profile. But it is a step back a little bit from that. But we are going into the second last round before the quarterfinal of the URC. And we're going to be playing the Fidelity Secure Drive Lions, and that is in the Aviva Stadium on Saturday, 9th of May. So look, I think it's going to be a very muted set of players. If I know what Conan does pretty much every year, he is going to rest an awful lot of players to ensure that we have a very strong team coming into that final. And fair enough, I think we're probably sound for the URC. We're going to get to the quarterfinal. We might get to the semi-final, but I think I wouldn't blame him now to at least rest him coming into the fact that we have 2 more rounds of the URC. So look, there's tickets still available to that game. I think we should show all our appreciation to the team after getting into that final. So get out for that Aviva game on the 9th. Show them you are ready. Show them you are ready for that 5th star. Show them you're ready to buy more jerseys, because we want that fancy little ring of stars there. Maybe they'll just do one massive star. Yeah, maybe just one huge star right over the logo. But no, come out in force, lads. Get behind the team. Get behind Leo Cullen. We need to show them that we have this in the bag, and I believe it. I'm living the dream, lads. You should live it too. Come on. Come on. Anyway, that is her. Again, if you haven't already, I'm trying to up my game on the social media, so please do try follow us on Instagram. I think that's probably where I'm going to put most of the focus is on Instagram now, because I'm a slightly millennial boomer. I don't do TikTok. But look, hope to see you at the game on the 9th. Get out. Just support them, lads. Just get behind them. We have to do this. But as always, thanks for listening.